Welcome to the deep dive.
Hello.
Today, we're diving into the sources you sent us, some really interesting articles, notes, a bit of research, actually.
Yeah, focusing on a specific natural phenomenon. Quite striking.
Exactly. Our mission, really, is just to unpack what these sources say about what happens when two huge bodies of water meet. And we're sticking only to the material provided.
Right. And the location is key here. The Strait of Gibraltar. Atlantic meets the Mediterranean.
Okay, so picture this. You're there, maybe on a boat like the research vessel Oceanus mentioned in the sources.
The sources talk about marine scientists being on board. Dr. Louis Bernard, an expert in water dynamics.
Right, and they're studying that exact spot, and then, according to the notes, someone points out something, a visible line.
A boundary, yeah.
Mhm.
Under the water. Where these two massive seas are coming together.
But they're not just blending, is that what the sources said?
Well, not instantly, no. The observation was they clearly meet, but there's this separation. It definitely raised questions for them. Why?
And this Dr. Bernard, the expert, he had the scientific answer according to your materials.
He did. He talked about um, an invisible physical barrier.
Invisible, okay. So what creates it then?
It comes down to differences in the water itself, like salinity, how salty the water is,
Okay, salinity.
and also temperature differences and the overall density of the water. The Atlantic and Mediterranean waters, they just have different characteristics.
So kind of like oil and water. Is that a fair comparison based on the source?
A bit like that, yeah.
Hmm.
The sources suggest their different properties, especially density, keep them from mixing freely right at the meeting point. They form layers, boundaries.
Okay, makes sense scientifically. But then the sources introduce a twist, don't they?
They do. Another scientist on the ship, Dr. Fayez, an Arab researcher.
Right, and he steps in. He suggests looking back, way back.
Yeah, he brought up a description of this exact thing, but from 1400 years ago.
From the Quran specifically.
That's what the sources quote. Surah Ar-Rahman, verses 19 and 20. The translation provided reads, "He released the two seas, meeting side by side. Between them is a barrier they do not transgress."
Wow. Between them is a barrier they do not transgress. So two seas meeting, a barrier, they don't just sort of overwhelm each other or mix completely.
Exactly, and the sources really highlight the reaction to this, especially Dr. Bernard's reaction.
Described as stunned, I believe.
Yes, stunned. The sources quote him asking something like, "How could anyone possibly know this back then without modern equipment? Underwater gear."
That's quite a moment described in the note.
It really is the core point. Your sources seem to be exploring this detailed natural event explained by modern science.
Seems to mirror a description from a text dating back centuries.
Yeah.
So, just to recap from the sources,
Hmm.
we have the scientific reality at Gibraltar. The Atlantic, the Mediterranean, they meet but don't fully mix immediately because of salinity, temperature, density.
Check. A physical barrier, scientifically understood.
And then we have this description from the Quran talking about two seas meeting with a barrier between them that they don't cross over.
Right. That's the juxtaposition the sources present.
And it emphasizes the scientists' sheer surprise at finding this parallel described so long ago.
Absolutely. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, but what are the implications when you find scientific observations made with today's tech echoing descriptions in ancient texts?
How does digging in to sources like these maybe make us rethink, the history of knowledge or how people observed the natural world centuries ago?
Definitely something to mull over.
Food for thought.
Okay, that wraps up this deep dive.